Board Game Breakfast. I am recording this in the middle of our 30-hour marathon, so if we look a little bleary-eyed, that might be what it is. I'm here at the Cool Stuff headquarters. They're currently playing another game without me, so I decided to take some time to put this together. This is our weekly show about board games and all things involved. I would like to ask you, if you like the Dice Tower, if you like our stuff, and you haven't yet backed our Kickstarter, if you check it out, there's a link down there. The Kickstarter is a fundraiser that we do each and every year to help support the Dice Tower and keep us going. So there's my plug for that this episode. But we have a lot of other cool things to talk about, and we're going to start with the news. Okay, so this week, Pegasus Spiel, who did one of the editions of Talisman in Germany, has announced 4 new games based on Talisman. So they're working with Games Workshop to do this. Remember, Games Workshop split with Fantasy Flight. I don't know if they're actually making Talisman, but they're making 4 new games. A kids game. Are kids yammering to play Talisman? Okay, whatever. An expandable card game, which I think is very similar to a living card game, an RPG, and a dice game. The Talisman universe, which I really thought was kind of a generic universe, but hey, what do you know? I know. Target wants you to come to the New York Toy Fair and pitch games to them so that they can sell them in stores. Thought you should know that. Shards of Infinity. This is a new deck building game. This is by Justin Gary and Gary Arendt. They're the folks who made Ascension. It's going to come with 128 cards, 30 minutes. The artwork, a lot of people are really going to like this stuff, so keep an eye on that. Memoir 44 is not dead, says Days of Wonder. There is a new set coming, Through the Jungle and Desert Pack. This is going to have 2 decks of cards, 6 scenarios, 2 Overlord scenarios, some rules to play in jungles and things like that. So this is not like a full-blown expansion, but it is more stuff for the game, which gives us hope. The new Chimera ship is out for Armada. I don't normally mention all the Star Wars Armada ships, but this is Admiral Thrawn ship, so it's pretty awesome. I'm really pumped about this one, folks. In fact, I might have put this on my top 10 anticipated games for the year, but I forgot about it, and that's Tower of Madness. This is from Smirk and Dagger Games, and is essentially a redesigned, gamery version of Kerplunk back in the days, except this is Cthulhu, and you can see the picture here. This looks amazing. I saw a prototype of this, and it looked okay, but this looks great. You're pulling tentacles out, and marbles fall down with madness. I'm looking forward to that. Multi-Universum, a game no one's ever going to pronounce correctly, coming from Grey Fox Games. This one, you're a secret lab fighting monsters from another dimension. That's coming, I think, this year. Plan B has a new studio called Next Move with this cool-looking but unreadable logo. The first game in this is Reef by Emerson Matsuuchi. He's a great designer, so I'm looking forward to seeing what this game's going to look like. This is kind of a light family style game. That's what they're going for with this branding. I'm not sure that their games are anything but that anyway, but we'll see where Plan B takes this. They certainly have aspirations in doing a lot of cool things. Well, that's regular news. Let's jump over to Kickstarter.
Happy breakfast, everybody. As expected, the tabletop crowdfunding world is shifting into higher gear. Soon we'll be flooded with projects ready to take our money. Let's take a look at what is vying for our pledge this week. Mask of the Red Death is a programming and deduction game based on the Edgar Allan Poe poem and features absolutely amazing gothic art. This is a high player count game that's not a party game in which players are attendees at the Princess Masquerade vying for popularity. But the Red Death is stalking, and only surviving players can win the prince's favor. In the early game, you are actually going to be playing cards to gain popularity or learn more info about where the Red Death will strike at every round. And then at midnight, the game changes. The Red Death will stalk different rooms, and your programmed cards take effect as you hope that you've accurately predicted where the Red Death will strike. Mask of the Red Death has a standout feature in the Grizz Grimly art, and the Kickstarter edition of the game includes some incredible looking miniatures. Although the game will be available at retail, if you want this deluxe edition, it's a Kickstarter only version for a pledge of $60 plus shipping. From the designer of The Resistance, Don Eskridge, comes Black Hole Council. This is a negotiation and deduction game in which you take on the role of an interplanetary council member who is working to achieve secret agendas for all of the planets. In this highly interactive game, you'll be negotiating about the fate of 5 planets each round, whether you mine, conquer, tax, or even send them into a black hole. Earn influence as votes go towards supporting your agendas, and use bribes to help you swing those votes. There are intrigue cards that can help you move forward at just the right moment, and you must pay attention to everyone else because if you can deduce their secret goals, you can steal their influence. Black Hole Council plays up to 8 players, and you can get a copy for a pledge of $25 plus shipping. Colossal Games is launching itself with Western Legends. Described as a sandbox game, Western Legends is a card-based Wild West game that uses action points as players try to become the most legendary character of the time. There are at least 12 different playable historical characters, and you can unlock legendary abilities as you gain legendary points. You'll be moving around the territory, visiting locations, mining for gold, and fighting. You can gain points on the wanted track and build your legend as an outlaw, or play for the law as you travel around, and you can always switch sides. You'll be taking actions at different locations like playing poker, depositing gold that you've mined, or robbing the bank. You can buy or upgrade your items at the general store, and all of this action is driven by multi-purpose cards that can be used for poker play or fights, or used as a special action that may give you bonuses or other abilities. Western Legends is set up to let players pick a path, adjust their direction, and provides a thematic Western game experience all in a very pretty package for a pledge of $60 plus shipping. If you love 80s action movies and social deduction games, then Countdown Action Edition is for you. The game is set in an 80s action movie starring reckless cop Diane trying to save the hostages that are being held by an evil mulleted mastermind. Countdown offers a few twists on the social deduction genre, including players being able to select their role and having a game end randomizer. It also includes action scene cards that let players influence the gameplay directly. Countdown Action Edition encourages role-playing, and it enhances the theme with flavor text and a bodacious 80s aesthetic. Published by well-known game luxury accessory maker Dogmite Games, Countdown Action Edition offers a carved wooden VHS tape box as an add-on, but the game itself takes a pledge of just $25 plus shipping. And last but not least, Darkflight Games is kickstarting a trio of games in their Tokyo series. Tokyo Jutaku is an homage to Japanese architecture, and it plays out a bit like a 3D free-form Tanagrams. You can play Jutaku with 1 to 8 players as you work to fit the wooden pieces into your blueprint with the proper number of layers. Tokyo Jido Hanbaki is a game about Japanese vending machine culture, and it's really more of a game system because it includes over 20 rule sets that utilize the clever components. The sheer variety in the games is impressive, as there are dexterity, economic, puzzle, deduction, and more types of games from designers around the world. And yes, that vending machine is a small dice tower. And Tokyo Metro is the heaviest of the games, and it plays out like an economic train game that uses randomized action cards to drive the game. Each round, players use their 3 actions as best they can based on the available action cards to move, build stations, start trains, take loans, buy stocks, and more. Mechanisms are pretty straightforward, but the strategy and tactics are deep and complex. On top of all of that, the Tokyo series includes rule sets that combine those 3 games and leverages components as variants or expansions for each other. You can pledge for individual games, or you can get the full Tokyo series for $99 plus shipping. Okay, that's all I've got for you this episode. Hopefully something caught your eye. And until next time, I hope you have a wonderful week.
glass of stagnant well water, kick off your undecorated buckle hat and shoes, and I will teach you how to play the Mansions of Happiness. To play the Mansion of Happiness, first piously roll the teetotum and move that many spaces. Then, do whatever that space says. Some of the exciting within reason adventures that players will have during their journey to the Mansion of Happiness include: whoever arrives at the inn space pays 1 token for a refreshment and continues on to space number 12. Alright. Whoever possesses piety, honesty, temperance, gratitude, prudence, truth, chastity, sincerity, humility, industry, charity, humanity, or generosity is entitled to advance 6 entire spaces towards the Mansion of Happiness. Whoever possesses audacity, cruelty, immodesty, or ingratitude must return to their former station until their next turn, during which time they must not even think about happiness, much less partake of it. Actual rule. Whoever gets in a passion must be taken to the water for a ducking to cool him and pay a fine of 1. Okay. Whoever becomes a perjurer must first pay a fine and then be put into a pillory, which I'm not sure is part of the game or is referencing something in real life. Whoever becomes a Sabbath breaker must be taken to the whipping post, pays a fine, and is then, according to the rules, whipped. Fun! And whoever arrives at the Mansion of Happiness first wins the game. Unless they throw over the number of spaces they need to get to it, in which case they go to the seat of expectation and spin again on their next turn. Unless they spin over the number of spaces they need again on their next turn, in which case they start the game over. Which sure may sound harsh, but does present the opportunity for additional whipping. And so there you have it. You now know how to play the Mansion of Happiness. My apologies. However, as bizarre as this game may seem on the surface, its popularity during America's seminal period of newfound leisure time most certainly helped drive demand for the next board game after this, and then the next, and the next, and the next, and so on and so forth, until modern times, where we've come a long way since the Mansion of Happiness. So go ahead and mock the Mansion of Happiness if you have to. Just don't do it on Space 25, because that's a temptation and you'll lose a turn and be sent to the Summit of Dissipation. But more importantly, don't do it, because without this game helping pave the way for American game publishers, modern tabletop games and activities may have evolved into something much different than the hobby that we actually know and love today. And that would be the real sin.
Okay, so what's coming from the Dice Tower this week? Well, we're going to do some more live plays as time goes by. I'm hesitant to schedule them, so if, you know, like, hey, this is what we're going to do this week, so I can't tell you what day they're going to be on, but we will get up at least one live play this week of something. So when we know, we'll be tweeting it and putting it on Facebook and things, so you can check there. I'll be reviewing a bunch of games: The Keeper from Richard Breese, Heroes of Land, Sea and Air Expansion, more games. So will Z and Sam and our other reviewers. We'll be doing a top 10 list this week. What is it? It's a remake of an older one. Which one? You'll find out when you see it. All right. Well, that's what's coming this week. Let's keep going.
Hey guys, I am Eleni, or Cardboard Rhino, and welcome to Rhino Says Yes. Today we're gonna have a look at a game of many awards, very competitive, very masterful. It's Splendor. Splendor is a card drafting and set collecting game. Players are merchants of the Renaissance looking to turn raw gems into jewels in order to win the most prestige points. During the game, the players take gem and gold tokens, and with these, they can purchase development cards. If you buy a development card, you add it to your playing area, and this allows you to reduce the cost of buying new cards in the next rounds, as they count as permanent resources, or how they're called bonuses. Most of the cards also give you prestige points. In your turn, you can either collect gems, buy and build a card, or reserve one. When choosing to collect gems, you can either take 3 of different color or 2 of the same, provided that there are at least 4 available left after you take them. To reserve a card and prevent other players from buying it, you place it in front of you face down for later building. This costs you a round, but you also get gold in the form of a joker chip, which you can use as a gem of any color. When a player has enough bonuses, then he gets a visit from a noble who offers prestige points. As soon as a player reaches 15 prestige points, the game ends and the player with the most prestige points is declared the winner. Splendor is a game that can be enjoyed by many different types of gamers, different age groups and experience levels. It's the perfect game for 3 players and it only takes about half an hour. What I like the most about it is that there's different strategies you can follow, it's fast-paced, and you always need to be alert about what your opponents are doing because you might need to adjust your strategy. There is also Cities of Splendor, which came out a few months ago, that contains 4 different expansions to use with the base game. So Rhino says yes to Splendor. You should definitely give it a go.
Hi, Mike DeLisio from Solomode Games. Today I want to talk about something that's not unique to solo gaming, and I'm not even actually sure if it's actually a thing. I'm talking about something I want to call expansion fatigue. Is there such a thing as expansion fatigue? Now, I want to preface this by saying that I love expansions. If there's a game that I like and I hear that an expansion is coming out, I get really excited. I mean, I will tend to buy it. I've got tons of expansions on my shelf. But I've noticed recently that certain games, and I'm not going to say anything specifically by name, but certain games may be going a little bit too far for me. 1, 2, even 3 expansions I don't have a problem with, and I, like I said, tend to get excited and tend to get them. But when you're talking 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 expansions, I start to ask myself, when does too much of a good thing become too much of a good thing? I don't know. I worry that sometimes with these expansions, you're diluting from the core principles that made the game something that I love to begin with. Does it even resemble the game that I liked in the first place? And it seems like with some of the expansions, there's such a push to add to it that it barely resembles the game that I originally liked in the first place. So, I don't know, maybe this is just me being a grump. I'd really like to know what your thoughts are, though. Is there such a thing as expansion fatigue? Do some games do this better than others? Do some games have expansions for the sake of expansions, while other games are really adding to the core mechanisms in such a way that the game is increasingly getting better? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. I'd really love to hear them. Thank you so much for your time, and have a great day.
2 brothers set loose in a thrift store. This is Thrift Store Throwbacks.
Alright, so this week we're doing a game about like the human body and stuff, and Nick fancies himself an anatomy man, so I'm gonna pop quiz him during the intro. Let's see how this goes.
What up, Dice Tower? We're the Brothers Murph, and this week we are doing Dr. Dreadful Scab
Hey, Nick!
Guts game.
How many bones are in the human body?
206. So it's Dr. Dreadful's like Scab and Guts game. It's all about
How many teeth are in your head?
32. Well, it's all about like the...
How many vertebrae do you have?
26.
If you're lucky.
Yeah, so again, it's...
What fills up the center of bones, like nougat?
Marrow.
How many muscles are in a quadricep?
4.
How does anyone know these things? What is half of the dust in your house made out of?
Old skin.
Ew, really?
Yeah.
Dude, our board games are gross.
Yeah, we live in squalor. It's disgusting. It's really gross.
I'm moving outside. Dirt's way better.
Alright, whatever. This is how the game plays. So this is Dr. Dreadful Scabs and Guts game. First of all, you're going to pick a player mark, which could be like a brain or some other thing. All the rules are right here on the box cover, so you know it's going to be a grand old game. There are 3 different categories. There's scabs and scrapes, there's blood and guts, and blubber buff. So you're going to go to one of the spots, and you're going to pick a question from there. So for this one, it's like roughly how many times a day does your heart beat? 10,000, 30,000, or 100,000? 100,000. Yay! So you're answering questions. Scabs and scrapes are about like positive health choices. This one's also about like positive health choices. This one's just about like weird facts about your body and stuff. That's pretty much it. Once you get here, you win. Woo! That was Dr. Dreadful Scab and Guts game.
Yummy.
Not gonna lie, this game wasn't great. And we were so intrigued by the cover. I was like, oh man, what a cool...
I thought it was going to be like gnarly operation. I don't need this to be a good game.
No.
It's not for us, but this can be a really fun way to teach kids.
They would love this game because it's like silly and you're like a lot of like, ew. Because like this game like doesn't really shy away from stuff. They get into like bowel movements in number 1 and number 2, and like a lot of like the nitty gritty of stuff.
If I was a teacher, I would even just buy the game for these cards, ditch the rest of it, and just do like fun pop quizzes.
Totally. Check us out on all forms of social media, especially check us out on Twitch, twitch.tv/the Brothers Murph, where we stream live a couple times a week usually. Until next time, we'll see you at the thrift store. We'll see you, baby.
All scanned up, roadkill, whatnot.
So in the news last week, I mentioned that Gloomhaven was number 1 on Board Game Geek. Well, that's a coincidence because it also is my number 1. And when we did our top 10 or top 100. And for a brief moment, I was like, well, maybe I should not have that as my number 1 because it's weird to me that something I like is something that a lot of other people like, because this isn't something that's common to me. There is a lot of games that I like, for example, Duel of Ages was my number 1 for the longest time, and most people don't even like that game, let alone have it in their top games. And it was kind of fun to have a game that not a lot of people liked. Cosmic Encounter, my favorite game. Well, it's a 40-year-old game. A lot of other people like it, but, you know, it's not in the top 50 at board. Well, I mean, it is pretty high in Board Game Geek, but it wasn't number 1. And this is this kind of hipster feeling. And I make fun of this hipster thing, like, wow, I liked it before it was cool, right? And we make fun of that, but we all do that to some degree. We all kind of liking something because not a lot of people know about it. And I'm convinced that this is why the Japanese game fair and the Japanese games are such a rage right now. When Eurogames first came on the scenes, everybody was like, oh, and people called them TGOO, these games of ours, like this cool thing that only we knew about, and you had to go to Rio Grande and get translations off the internet and play these games, and it was like this cool thing. Well, now everyone's doing it, so they're not as cool, but the Japanese games are there. You can go to Tokyo Game Fair and find games that no one else has. You're like, ooh, look at this, and many of these games aren't even that good, but people are like, oh, look what I have, this little weird game. And that's okay. I mean, don't get me wrong, I think it's fun to have little things that nobody else has, but I think sometimes we fall in this trap of, well, if it's number 1, it can't be that good. And I'm not here to debate whether Gloomhaven should be number 1 on Board Game Geek or not. It just is because a lot of people like it. But when it is, sometimes people want to disassociate themselves. Well, you know, or this happens with popular games. Catan, when it first came out, have you played Catan? It's amazing. But then when it became popular and everyone was playing it, people were like, wow, it wasn't really that good. Carcassonne, Ticket to Ride, the same thing. Each time they came out, Dominion even gets a lot of garbage. You know, but the fact was these games made a big splash in their time, and I think it's okay to like something if it's popular. I saw someone on Facebook this past week, and they were complaining that the game awards that were given out were only given to popular games. They weren't given to small games that needed more exposure. What sort of nonsense is that? Gaming awards should point people towards games, but they should also promote the best games. And if the best games are games a lot of people like, well then why would you not pick those games? You shouldn't pick weird things just to pick weird things. When you pick your top 10 or your favorite games, pick your favorite games. If your favorite game is Monopoly, so be it. I might cock my eyebrow a bit, but who cares? Who cares what other people think about your choices? If your choices align with the masses, that's great. We're very fortunate to live in an era where all these great games come out, and most of them are fairly easy to get. Yeah, Monopoly and Scrabble and Uno still kind of dominate the scene, but it's pretty easy to find really good games. Just because a game is hard to get doesn't make it better than other games. And just because a game is popular doesn't mean it's not that good. Stop being a hipster. I'm trying.
Now in this week's episode, we're going to be going over things that we can learn from video games. Hi, I'm Gary Pope from Late to the Table, and this is what to check out where we basically go on the internet, check out videos, blogs, media, whatever we can find, and I go ahead and suggest them for you. So let's go ahead and start. Now this is going to be a two-parter. It's actually going to all focus on just one YouTube channel, and that's called GDC, which is a huge convention where video gamers and board game designers, they all go to one convention to go ahead and discuss a lot of things and learn from each other. Now one thing I discuss a lot with people is that I feel like board games can learn a lot from video games, considering that I feel like we're going along a very similar trend. Now the first video I'm going to talk about is how to survive in game dev for 11 years without a hit. But some of the things that are very important in this video is having a long tail, which is very important to maintaining a stable lifestyle. Also having focus, and also having a very strict and very well-maintained time management. And next video up is 30 things I hate about your game pitch. Now besides a couple of little very specific video game tips, you could actually follow roughly about 90% of this video and actually do it at the next convention you go to. That is saying if you're a game designer or publisher, that is, of course. Some of my favorite things include having something for for the spectators to do. Have something for the people that are either sitting there waiting or they're just walking by and they might happen to see something. There's also a very great visual representation of how long people actually will look at your booth. And it's funny because I've definitely have done this myself many times at conventions. Another very key thing that they've mentioned is having video footage at your convention. That could go a long way. One group that I would mention that actually has done that, the guys running the Dice Thrones booth threw a whole little video log of what happened at PAX Unplugged at their booth. And the last video I'm going to go over is PR and marketing lessons learned from Goat Simulator. If you've never heard of the video game Goat Simulator, it's exactly what you think it is, and it's exactly what you think it is. But there's a ton you can learn from Goat Simulator, even though it seems very goofy, it doesn't really seem very well thought of. It's a very well done viral marketing strategy. Now, if I could sum up that entire 60-minute video into just one sentence, it really boils down to focusing on having your Facebook, your social media, and all those other pages just be fun and interactive. There's even a point in a video where they go over the details in terms of how they're talking about when they go over patch notes and updates and all this other important stuff for the games. Barely gets any attention. But the second that they post a picture about a goat for literally no reason at all, it gets a ton of likes, a ton of views, a ton of shares, and everyone goes crazy about the game. Now, if this is all sounding very familiar to you, I'm pretty sure you already know a company that follows these exact same tactics. Until next time, we Gary Pope from Late to the Table, and I hope you're enjoying your breakfast.
Hey, this is Mike with Board Game Makeover. In this episode, I take an excellent game that I just discovered this year called King Domino, and I retheme it. Can you guess what theme I gave it? Well, if you guessed The Simpsons, you are right. It's now called King Domino. Let me show you what I did to make this game a little more themey and a little more Simpsons. So each player will pick their favorite Simpsons character of the 4 that I have displayed here. And I will take Homer, and then what I will do is these would act the exact same way. Now, if you notice, this was from a different game I rethemed to The Simpsons called Love Letter, Simpsons Edition. I redid all the tiles using Simpsons-themed buildings, but I still used the back, like the wheat and the trees and the water. Of course, you'll get your corresponding pawn. This was taken out of The Simpsons Clue Edition. It's like the original game, starting player will pick first. Instead of using crowns, I use donuts, and that's where you score points. So giving King Domino a retheme using The Simpsons, one of my favorites of course, was very easy to do. Because I already had the graphic artwork, I just had to print out some stuff and paste it on, and now it gives it a little different appeal to different people. Thanks for watching the Board Game Makeover. I will see you next time.
Hi everyone, my name is Dave Luza and this is Playing the News. I keep being fascinated by the weather. This year alone we already had snow in Spain and even in Florida. Heavy rain, mudslides in California, and here in Düsseldorf the Rhine cannot hold all the water because of the heavy snowfall in the Alps. This week I am playing a game that is all about the weather. Rain will fall and then you better make sure that it is your raindrops that fall on the ground. This week I am playing Petrichor. In Petrichor, each player has their own color of raindrops and you're trying to fertilize the plants and the flowers on the ground. You do this by every turn, play one card, and that card lets you do one of 4 things. Start a cloud with one of your raindrops, add 2 drops to clouds you already exist in, move clouds, or let some rain seep through to the ground. Directly after playing a card, the active player needs to vote on which kind of weather they would like at the end of a round. End of round weather can let all thunderclouds pour down to the ground, let clouds move, or even let drops move on the ground. It might take you a game to get to know all the different mechanics, but after that you're good to go. A game with a very new theme. Create rain and come out on top. Petrichor. My name is Dave Luza. Thanks for watching.
Welcome to Tantrum House HQ. I'm Kevin Delp.
And I'm Melissa Delp. And today on the Throwdown, I have Century Spice Road in the red corner.
And I've got Splendor in the blue corner. In Splendor by Space Cowboys, you're trying to be the best Renaissance merchant, building up your business and attracting the nobles. On your turn, you can do one of three things: collect gems, buy a card, or reserve a card. Cards will increase your buying power by giving you permanent gems. Some also give you prestige points. If you collect cards that match a noble's requirement, the noble will visit you, giving you more points. The first player to reach 15 points wins.
In Century Spice Road by Plan B Games, players act as caravanning merchants selling their precious wares along the Spice Road. On your turn, you can draft a card, play a card from your hand, or rest, which is picking up the cards you've played. You're trying to obtain the right colored cubes to match the point cards on the top row. Your action cards may let you gain cubes, upgrade your cubes, or even trade cubes. The player with the most points at the end will win.
So a lot of people compare these games, but how similar are they?
Well, they both play in about 30 to 45 minutes, and they have aspects of set collection and card drafting.
Splendor plays 2 to 4 players.
Century is 2 to 5.
I've got cards, tiles, and everyone's favorite, the poker chips.
Well, Century has cards, but then there's also the metal coins, the wooden cubes for the spices, and pretty cool plastic bowls. There's also a beautiful playmat that you can buy as an add-on to your game.
Splendor has a playmat too, but the simplicity of Splendor makes it a great gateway game. It's easy to pick up, but there's still strategy and choices.
I would say Century is more of a Gateway Plus game. There's more going on with the card drafting and then the trading of cubes. I actually find it a little bit more interesting.
Well, there's an expansion called Cities of Splendor that brings new mechanics and challenges.
Well, Century is part of a trilogy, and later this year, Eastern Wonders is coming out. You can play it standalone or add it into Spice Road. So what do you think? Is Century a Splendor killer?
Or does Splendor stay on top? Vote in the comments.
Hello, my name's Dan, and this is Cora, and we're here today to talk to you about kids' games for children, well, young children, about 5 and under, around that time. And today we're going to talk to you about this game. What is it, Cora?
Bandito.
Bandido.
Yeah, it's hard to say.
It is hard to say.
Bandito.
Bandido is a cooperative card-laying game where you play as prison wardens trying to catch a bandit who's tunnelling their way out of a jail cell. Each player has a hand of 3 cards and takes it in turn laying them down on the table in order to form the network of tunnels the prisoner's using to escape. The player's job is to try and bring all the various branches of the tunnels to a dead end before the pile of draw cards runs out and the prisoner escapes. So Cora, what do you think about Bandido?
It's pretty hard.
It is hard.
We just gave up.
We did give up. We thought we couldn't win, didn't we?
Yeah, and there's no chance. There's no chance for us winning, so we just gave up. And
yeah,
it's a really good game.
It is a good game. I think the hardness of it is very dependent on what cards come out. Sometimes the game's over in a flash. Sometimes you're going on forever, and we seem to be going on forever with no chance of winning as the tunnel got bigger and bigger and the robber kept having more and more ways to escape, didn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's a really nice game. Again, with all these games by I keep forgetting the name of the publisher. Helvetica, I think it is. Beautiful design, beautiful graphic design, and really nice. So we give Bandido 2 escaping thumbs up.
So recently, I've noticed something that's been popping up on board game social media a whole bunch, or as I like to call it, 1984. Not really. It's 2018, innit? Idiots. And that thing is this thing, Journal 29. And you know I'm serious because I keep it on my shelf, just there. Journal 29 is an interactive book game, and I know this because it literally says it right there. The idea of Journal 29 is to solve mysteries and then to get keys to progress and then use those keys to solve more mysteries. They're not easy. Some of them you'll just go, yeah, got it. But then some of them will make you stare longingly into the middle distance. And it's all connected with an app. So you type in your little code and you know if you're right or not. You don't get halfway through and go, oh, I was wrong on page 7 and now everything is pointless in my whole life. The artwork in the book I really like. And my only real negative about the whole thing is the handwriting they use in it. I don't read cursive or write it. I do block capitals at best. In my eyes, it really isn't a game. It's a solitaire puzzle activity, which is the main gripe most people have about all my favourite games. So, in my face. It's cheap, fun, and a great way to waste time, which is how most of my friends describe me. So I'm giving it a recommendation for what that. Just get it. Bye!
Well, I better get going, because it's about time for me to go get whooped up in another game, I'm sure. Thanks for everyone who came by our marathon. We had the most viewers we've ever had by a mile in this last marathon. We saw some changes. We saw that you guys liked the contest. We'll probably try to do more of those as time goes by. You'll see, hopefully this year, a lot more live plays. Don't forget our Kickstarter. That's the thing that's making this sort of thing possible. Also, I'll be doing a live Q&A today. I'm going to do it a little bit later than normal, around 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So come and ask me questions then. And maybe you'll see other Q&As and stuff this week. So again, look for live things on our channel. We'll announce them as we go by. I appreciate everyone. I appreciate all my contributors. Thanks for watching. Until next time, I'm Tom Vasel here at Cool Stuff, talking to you on Board Game Breakfast.